The Magic Shop by H. G. Wells. Read by Lisa M. Kendrick. Dada, said Jip in a guilty whisper. What is it, Jip? Said I. I do like this shop, Dada. So should I said to myself, if the counter wouldn't suddenly extend itself to shut one off from the door. But I didn't call Jip's attention to that. Pussy, he said, with a hand out to the rabbit as it came lolloping past us. Pussy do Jip a magic! And his eyes followed it as it squeezed through a door I had certainly not remarked a moment before. Then this door opened wider, and the man with one ear larger than the other appeared again. He was smiling still, but his eye met mine with something between amusement and defiance. You like to see our showroom, sir? He said, with an innocent suavity. Jip tugged my finger forward. I glanced at the counter and met the shopman's eye again. I was beginning to think the magic just a little too genuine. We haven't very much time, I said, but somehow we were inside the showroom before I could finish that. All goods of the same quality, said the shopman, rubbing his flexible hands together, and that is the best. Nothing in this place isn't genuine magic and warranted thoroughly rum. Excuse me, sir. I felt him pulling at something that clung to my coat sleeve, and then I saw he held a little wraggling red demon by the tail. The little creature bit and fought and tried to get his hand, and in a moment he tossed it carelessly behind a counter. No doubt the thing was only an image of twisted India rubber, but for the moment, and his gesture was exactly that of a man who handles some petty biting bit of vermin. I glanced at Jip, but Jip was looking at the magic rocking horse. I was glad he hadn't seen the thing. I say, I said in an undertone, and indicating Jip and the red demon with my eyes, you haven't many things like that about, have you? Oh, none of ours. Probably brought it with you, said the shopman, also in an undertone, and with a more dazzling smile than ever. Astonishing what people will carry with them unawares. And then to Jip, do you see anything you fancy here? There were many things that Jip fancied there. He turned to his astonishing tradesman with mingled confidence and respect. Is this a magic sword? He said. A magic toy sword. It neither bends, breaks, nor cuts the fingers. It renders the bearer invincible in battle against anyone under 18. Half a crown to 7 and 6 pence, according to size. These panoplies on cards are for juvenile knights errant, and very useful. Shield of safety, sandals of swiftness, helmet of invisibility. Oh, Daddy, gasped Jip. I tried to find out what they cost, but the shopman did not heed me. He had got Jip now. He had got him away from my finger. He had embarked upon the exposition of all his confounded stock, and nothing was going to stop him. Presently I saw with a qualm of distrust and something very like jealousy that Jip had hold of this person's finger, as usually he has hold of mine. No doubt the fellow was interesting, I thought, and had an interestingly faked lot of stuff, really good faked stuff. Still. I wandered after them, saying very little, but keeping an eye on this prestigial fellow. After all, Jip was enjoying it, and no doubt when the time came to go, we should be able to go quite easily. It was a long, rambling place, that showroom, a gallery broken up by stands and stalls and pillars, with archways leading off to other departments in which the queerest looking assistants loafed and stared at one with perplexing mirrors and curtains. So perplexing indeed were these that I was presently unable to make out the door by which we had come. The shopman showed Jip magic trains that ran without steam or clockwork, just as you set the signals, and then some very, very valuable boxes of soldiers that all came alive directly you took off the lid and said, I myself haven't a very quick ear, and it was a tongue-twisting sound, but Jip, he has his mother's ear, got it in no time. Bravo, said the shopman, putting the men back into the box unceremoniously and handing it to Jip. Now, said the shopman, and in a moment Jip had made them all alive again. Well, you'll take that box, asked the shopman. We'll take the box, said I, unless you charge its full value, in which case it would need a trust magnet. Dear heart, no, said the shopman, swept the little men back again and shut the lid, waved the box in the air, and there it was in brown paper, tied up with Jip's full name and address on the paper. And the shopman laughed at my amazement. This is genuine magic, he said. The real thing. It's a little too genuine for my taste, I said again. After that, he fell to showing Jip tricks, odd tricks, and still odder the way they were done. He explained them, he turned them inside out, and there was the dear little chap nodding his busy bit of a head in the sagest manner. I did not attend as well I might. Hey presto, said the magic shopman, and then would come the clear small hey presto of the boy. But I was distracted by other things. It was being borne in upon me just how tremendously rum this place was. It was, so to speak, inundated by a sense of rumness. And there was something a little rum about the fixtures, even, about the ceiling, about the floor, about the casually distributed chairs. I had a queer feeling that whenever I wasn't looking at them straight, they went askew and moved about and played a noiseless puss in the corner behind my back. And the corner had a serpentine design with masks, masks altogether too expressive for proper plaster. Then abruptly my attention was caught by one of the odd-looking assistants. He was some way off and evidently unaware of my presence. I saw a sort of three-quarter length of him over a pile of toys and through an arch, and he was leaning against a pillar in an idle sort of way, doing the most horrid things with his features. The particular horrid thing he did with his nose. He did it just as though he was idle and wanted to amuse himself. First of all, it was a short, blobby nose, and then suddenly he shot it out like a telescope. And then out it flew and became thinner and thinner until it was like a long, red, flexible whip, like a thing in a nightmare it was. He flourished it about and flung it forth as a fly fisher flings its line. My instant thought was that Jip mustn't see him. I turned about, and there was Jip, quite preoccupied with the shopman and thinking no evil. They were whispering together and looking at me. Jip was standing on a little stool, and the shopman was holding a sort of big drum in his hand. Hide and seek, Dada, said Jip. You're he! And before I could do anything to prevent it, the shopman had clapped the big drum over him. I saw what was up directly. Take it off him, I cried. This instant! You'll frighten the boy. Take it off! The shopman with the unequal ears did so without a word, and held the big cylinder towards me to show its emptiness, and the little stool was vacant. In that instant, my boy had utterly disappeared. You know, perhaps, that sinister something that comes like a hand out of the unseen and grips your heart about. You know it takes your common self away and leaves you tense and deliberate, neither slow nor hasty, neither angry nor afraid. So it was with me. I came up to this grinning shopman and kicked his stool aside. Stop this folly, I said. Where is my boy? You see, he said, still displaying the drum's interior, there is no deception. I put out my hand to grip him, and he eluded me by a dexterous movement. I snatched again, and he turned from me and pushed open the door to escape. Stop, I said, and he laughed, receding. I leapt after him into utter darkness. Thud! Look, bless my heart, I didn't see you coming, sir. I was in Regent Street, and I had collided with a decent-looking working man, and a yard away, perhaps, and looking a little perplexed with himself, was Jip. There was some sort of apology, and then Jip had turned and come to me with a bright little smile, as though for a moment he had missed me, and he was carrying 4 parcels in his arms. He secured immediate possession of my finger. For the second, I was rather at a loss. I stared around to see the door of the magic shop, and behold, it was not there. There was no door, no shop, nothing, only the common pilaster between the shop where they sell pictures and the window with the chicks. I did the only thing possible in that mental tumult. I walked straight to the curbstone and held up my umbrella for a cab. "Ansoms," said Jip in a note of culminating exultation. I helped him in, recalled my address with an effort, and got in also. Something unusual proclaimed itself in my tailcoat pocket, and I felt and discovered a glass ball. With a petulant expression, I flung it into the street. Jip said nothing. For a space, neither of us spoke. "Dada," said Jip at last, "that was a proper shop." I came round with that to the problem of just how the whole thing had seemed to him. He looked completely undamaged. So far good. He was neither scared nor unhinged. He was simply tremendously satisfied with the afternoon's entertainment, and there in his arms were the four parcels. Confound it! What could be in them? I said, little boys can't go to shops like that every day. He received this with his usual stoicism, and for a moment I was sorry I was his father and not his mother. So I couldn't, suddenly there, coram publico, in our hansom kiss him. After all, I thought, the thing wasn't so very bad. But it was only when we opened the parcels that I really began to be reassured. Three of them contained boxes of soldiers, quite ordinary lead soldiers, but of so good a quality as to make Jip altogether forget that originally these parcels had been magic tricks of the only genuine sort. And the fourth contained a kitten, a little living white kitten, in excellent health and appetite and temper. I saw this unpacking with a sort of provisional relief. I hung about in the nursery for quite an unconscionable time. That happened 6 months ago, and now I am beginning to believe it is all right. The kitten had only the magic natural to all kittens, and the soldiers seem as steady as a company as any colonel could desire. And Jip? The intelligent parent will understand that I have to go cautiously with Jip. But I went so far as this one day I said, how would you like your soldiers to come alive, Jip, and march about by themselves? Mine do, said Jip. I just have to say a word I know before I open the lid. Then they march about alone? Oh, quite, Dada. I shouldn't like them if they didn't do that. I displayed no unbecoming surprise. And since then I have taken occasion to drop in upon him once or twice unannounced, when the soldiers were about. But so far I have never discovered them performing in anything like a magical manner. It's so difficult to tell. There's also the question of finance. I have an incurable habit of paying bills. I have been up and down Regent Street several times looking for that shop. I'm inclined to think, indeed, that in that matter honor is satisfied. After all, since Jip's name and address are known to them, I may very well leave it to these people, whoever they may be, to send in their bill in their own time.